Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Dandavat to everyone, good to be back. So Mahaprabhu has given a very rare gift to Raghunath Das Goswami. Raghunath Das has escaped from his parents and made it to Jagannath Puri, has been placed under the spiritual tutelage of Swarup Damodar Goswami, and has begun to display his exemplary renunciation, eating regarding all aspects of his lifestyle, particularly eating and sleeping, doing virtually none of those two. Sleeping and eating constitute something like 2 hours of his day. So that's not much. Maybe 20 minutes eating, an hour and 40 minutes sleeping or something. And Mahaprabhu has given him a very precious gift in the form of a Govardhan-chila that Mahaprabhu himself brought back from Vrindavan. He's given it to Raghunath Das Goswami to worship. And if you can list the number of times that Mahaprabhu gifts personal items to devotees, you could probably list it on one hand. That's how rare such an occurrence is. Particularly an item of such significance that Mahaprabhu himself collected from Govardhan and brought back to Jagannath Puri. And then he gifts it to Raghunath Das Goswami along with the Gunjamala. Gunja refers, there's different types of Gunjamala, but the one referred to here is made of tiny conch shells. And mala means a garland or a necklace. So a small garland of conch shells, which represents, Govardhan-chila represents Krishna, and the garland of conch shells represents Srimati Radharani. So you have Radha Krishna there. In, not human deity form, but it's considered that it is Radha Krishna. Worship, if one is worshipping Govardhan-chila with the Gunjamala. And that is, of course, this conception originates here in this pastime of Mahaprabhu gifting these two items to Raghunath Das Goswami for his worship. And it should be noted also that the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat was begun with similar worship of Govardhan-chila. At its very inception point, the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat hey, up there. Yeah, Hare Krishna. The Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat was, of course, founded in 1941 by Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Maharaj, with the worship of Govardhan-chila that he had personally brought from Vrindavan. Jai Srila Gurudev Ki Jai. And he had established its worship, or his worship, in just a small thatched hut, as we know the history, right? And then he built a tall bamboo flag and composed a sloka, and that was the beginnings of the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat, with the worship of Govardhan-chila. So anyway, Mahaprabhu has gifted Raghunath Das Goswami Govardhan-chila. Another, if we're on the topic of Mahaprabhu gifting auspicious items, very sacred items to devotees, as mentioned, there's very few incidents of such. But another famous one is Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, where Mahaprabhu gives him tulsi beads and a tulsi garland of tulsi manjaris. You see, so they sew the tulsi manjaris like in a kind of a circular fashion, and so they're stacked like this, and you make a solid. Must be hundreds, thousands of manjaris, and they can dry. Well, they will dry, and the garland will remain intact. So he gifted Raghunath Bhatta Goswami a garland of tulsi manjaris and neck beads on his departure from Jagannath Puri. And there's a few other incidents, but not too many, where Mahaprabhu is giving very special gifts to devotees. So this is one of them. I lost the page. Okay. And we're reading here how Raghunath Das Goswami, even though when he arrives in Jagannath Puri, he begins to exhibit exemplary renunciation, he takes that renunciation further and further. So he starts with eating with Mahaprabhu and his associates, having prasad with Mahaprabhu and his associates, and then decides that is not for him, and he stands at the Simhadwara gate and is begging for food, and also decides that that's inappropriate, and then he goes to the food distribution stall and is just getting prasad from there, and decides that is also too opulent for him. And then he goes to the place, the kind of like the scrap heap, where the excess prasad that even the pilgrims or the beggars have not taken, and it's put out just to decompose. The cows often eat it. But there's even prasad that the cows won't eat because it's too decomposed. And Raghunath Das Goswami is collecting that, and he's washing that to take off the exterior mold, and then he's eating that. I'm not sure if have we reached that point yet?
No.
Okay. Right. So anyway, text 283. Surupakahe Shimhadvare Dukha Anubhavya Chatre Mage Kaya Madhyana Kalegiya. Swarup Damodar replied, Raghunath Das felt unhappy standing at the Simhadwara. Therefore, he is now going at midday to beg alms from the charity booth. Prabhu kahe bala kaila charila Simhadwara Simhadware bhikshabriti veshyara achara. Hearing this news, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, he has done very well by no longer standing at the Simhadwara gate. Such begging of alms resembles the behavior of a prostitute. Kimartam ayam agachati ayam dasyati anena datam ayam aparaha samyet yaham dasyati anenapi nadatam anyaha sameshyati nad sadasyati ityadi. It's an oddly constructed verse. Here is a person coming near. He will give me something. This person gave me something last night. Now another person is coming near. He may give me something. The person who just passed did not give me anything, but another person will come. He will give me something. Thus, a person in the renounced order gives up his neutrality and depends on the charity of this person or that person. Thinking in this way, he adopts the occupation of a prostitute. He's describing a situation of like lolyam, where they're like constantly thinking, oh, there's a person in the distance, he looks like charitable, or she looks charitable, and they might give me something, they might provide me with something, oh, I wonder what they're going to provide me with, etc. So it's not quite depending on the mercy of the Lord as such, but rather generating a state of mental lack of tranquility or mental disturbance, thinking about who might give and who might give what and when, etc. Chatrayayata labha udara barana anya katana heshuke Krishna sankirtana. If one goes to the booth where free food is distributed and fills his belly with whatever he obtains, there is no chance of further unwanted talk and one can very peacefully chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Eta bale tanre puna prasada karila govardhanera shila gunjamala tanre dila. After saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again bestowed his mercy upon Raghunath Das by giving him a piece of stone from Govardhan hill and a garland of small conch shells. Shankarananda Saraswati Brindavana Haiti Aila Tain Hasai Shila Gunja Mala Lana Gela. Previously, when Shankarananda Saraswati had returned from Vrindavan, he had brought the piece of stone from Govardhan hill. Oh, I see. So Shankarananda brings it from Govardhan. And the garland of conch shells. I was under the impression that Mahaprabhu himself brought it. But nonetheless, it was in the possession of Mahaprabhu. Parshve Ganta Gunjamala Govardhana Shila Dui Vastu Mahaprabhura Age Anidila. He presented Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with these two items, the garland of conch shells and the stone from Govardhan hill. Duya Purva Vastu Pana Prabhu Tushta Haila Smaranera Kale Gai Gare Gunjamala. Upon receiving these two uncommon items, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was extremely happy. While chanting, he would put the garland around his neck. Govardhan Shila Prabhu Hridaye Netridare Kabu Nasaya Grana Laya Kabu Shirekare. The Lord would put the stone to his heart, or sometimes to his eyes. Sometimes he would smell it with his nose, and sometimes place it on his head. Netra Jale Se Shila Bijay Nirantara Shila Re Kahena Prabhu Krishna Kalevara. The stone from Govardhan was always moist with the tears from his eyes. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would say, the stone is directly the body of Lord Krishna. Ei Mata Tina Vatsara Shila Maradarila Tushtahana Shila Mala Raguna Tedila. For 3 years he kept the stone and garland. Then, greatly satisfied by the behavior of Raghunath Das, the Lord delivered both of them to him. Prabhu kahe e Shila Krishnera Vigraha Inhara Seva Karatumi Kariya Agraha. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed Raghunath Das, this stone is the transcendental form of Lord Krishna. Worship the stone with great eagerness. We'll read some of the purport here. Purport. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhasya that in the opinion of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Govardhan Shila, the stone from Govardhan hill, was directly the form of Krishna, son of Maharaj Nanda. The Lord used the stone for 3 years, and then in the heart of Raghunath Das, the Lord awakened devotional service to the stone. The Lord then gave the stone to Raghunath Das, accepting him as one of his most confidential servants. However, some envious people conclude that because Raghunath Das had not taken birth in the family of a Brahmin, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not give him the right to worship the deity directly, but instead gave him a stone from Govardhan. This kind of thought is naraki, or hellish. As stated in the Padma Purana, Arshye Vishnu Shiladir Gurusur Naramatir Vaishnaver Jati Buddhi Yasyava Naraki Saha. One who considers the Archamurti, the worshipful deity of Vishnu, to be stone, the spiritual master to be an ordinary being, or a Vaishnav to belong to a particular creed, is possessed of hellish intelligence. If one thinks that the worshipful Shalagram Shila is a mere stone, that the spiritual master is an ordinary human being, or that a pure Vaishnav preaching the Bhakti cult all over the world is a member of a particular caste or material division of society, he is considered a naraki, a candidate for hellish life. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed that the Govardhan Shila, the stone taken from Govardhan, is non-different to the body of Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he indirectly advised such foolish persons that one should not be envious of a Vaishnava who belongs to a different caste or sect. One should accept a Vaishnava as transcendental. In this way, one can be saved. Otherwise, one is surely awaiting a hellish life. Raghunath Das was born in what is called the Kayashta family. It's quite common in Bengal, the Kayashta creed. They are generally engaged in business, but they're considered Sudra. But obviously there's kind of different types of Shudras, like subcategories in the Varnas. So although they're Sudras, they're not necessarily engaged in manual labor. In fact, they were landlords, of course, very wealthy landlords. Govardhan and someone, Majumdara, Hiranya. Anyway, the father and uncle of Raghunath Das Goswami. But they were of the Kayashta class. And of course, once later, someone said to I think Saraswati, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that, I can give my blessing, some Brahmana by caste. I can give my blessings to Raghunath Das Thakur, Raghunath Das Goswami. I can place my foot on his head and give him my blessings because I am a Brahmana. And Saraswati Thakur completely cut him off, and I forget the details of the exact pastime, but he ended up being corrected by either Saraswati Thakur himself or by some of Saraswati Thakur's Brahmana disciples. Yeah, of course, the incorrect conception.
But also the wrong person to say that too.
Prabhu, this is the social caste of Raghunath Das, but what about his religious background? He had very strong faith, apparently. In which context? I mean, he was from some Hindu religion.
Yeah,
but
you could say Hindu, but his
family was very, very religious. Or
yeah, they're very pious, very religious. His father and brother were engaged in some kind of joint business as revenue collectors for the authorities. And I guess the idea was that if they were successful as in their revenue collection, they would take a slice of that. They would get a percentage. It's like a commission. So they would go and collect all the taxes, and they would get a portion of that. So they got extremely wealthy as a result of that business. And they used that wealth to support the Brahmana community of the entire area, including Mahaprabhu's family. Maybe earlier or later in this chapter, there's an incident where I'm just trying to think of the context of it, but it doesn't come to me right now. Where Mahaprabhu is talking to Raghunath Das Goswami, and he's saying that we are related in some way because of your
grandfather.
Parents' support of my family.
We read something like this before.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the exact context and details of it, but it doesn't come to me. Yeah, I'll have to look it up later. But the point I wanted to make was that Raghunath Das Goswami's family was supporting the Brahminical community, including Mahaprabhu's own family. Mahaprabhu's father, Jagannath Mishra. or maybe Sachimata, maybe the incident referred to Sachimata's father, Nilamba Chakravarti. Perhaps it did. But either way, the point being that Raghunath's family was engaged in an extraordinary amount of charity to the Brahminical community. So they weren't just ordinary religious, they were considered to be very pious. But even so, pious to a certain extent, they didn't want their son running away to join Mahaprabhu and his group. Right? Jai Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But then that's typical of pious Hindu family. They want to be involved in spirituality, but they don't really want, it's inside the context of their family life, which is understandable. But it's unlike what I saw myself. It's like growing up, like in ISKCON, for instance, the parents would like fantasize about their son becoming a sannyasi. That would be like crowning achievement. But that's definitely not traditional. I mean, back in earlier times, if the son became a sannyasi, it was a complete termination of all contact with the family. It was as if they'd become dead to the family, to their previous life. So it was a dreaded idea by the typical family. And of course, Raghunath's family knew that if he escaped and joined Mahaprabhu's group, then it would be, although it may not technically be sannyas, it would be akin to sannyas in all respects, which is exactly what happened. But
parents didn't have the same consideration for Mahaprabhu as Raghunath does. Obviously, they didn't consider him for what he was, right?
It's hard to know exactly. Maybe they did, but they still had attachment to their son. Mm-hmm. We can say they weren't at the level of their son. Mm-hmm. They were interested in their business life and their family life. They may have had a theoretical regard for Mahaprabhu, or an appreciation of Mahaprabhu, but they weren't pulled by, their heart wasn't captured as was Raghunath's.
And Raghunath thus had associated with Mahaprabhu before wanting so much to go meet him in Jagannath Puri? He already met him.
Twice he had met him. Both times at the house of Advaita Acharya in Shantipur.
Oh yeah, we talked about that, so sorry.
Did we? Okay.
I think so, no?
Yeah, he had met him twice. And then Mahaprabhu had advised him not to be too desperate to run away.
Sorry.
Yeah. But then he had gotten the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu and at the Panihati festival. Yeah. And shortly after that, he had managed his escape. So it's said that he was able to meet Mahaprabhu and join with Mahaprabhu by the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu. But he had met Mahaprabhu twice. The first time was actually because his guru, his family guru, was known as Yadunandan Acharya. Mm. And Yadunandan was a disciple of Advaita Acharya. Mm. So there was a strong connection between the two. So when Mahaprabhu was at the house of Advaita Acharya after taking sannyas for some days, 3 days, or he was there for maybe 10 days, then I presume Yadunandan Acharya had gone there with young Raghunath Das Goswami. And so Raghunath had met Mahaprabhu there freshly after taking sannyas. And then again at the same location when Mahaprabhu was coming back to Jagannath Puri after meeting Rupa and Sanatan for the first time, deciding not to go to Vrindavan. He also stays again at the house of Advaita Acharya in Shantipur. and Raghunath Das Goswami meets him again. And then finally the third contact is when Raghunath makes it to Jagannath Puri.
Last question.
Yeah.
So, do we have to understand Raghunatha's situation or story as an example of how to get detached from our family bondage, which means apparently to hanker for the mercy a lot, and then it's only when we get this mercy that we are really able to get this detachment? I mean, these two ingredients are necessary.
Yes. Yeah, I would say so. That seems to make sense.
By ourselves we cannot.
Yeah. I mean, Mahaprabhu's instruction to Raghunath at the second meeting was about not being too keen to... Or there's various subtleties of import in that instruction. One of them being that not to try and go too far too fast. Mm-hmm. In other words, at the appropriate time, transformations will take place. Mm-hmm. But that one is to not try and exhibit that externally too soon. And thus Mahaprabhu uses the concept of markata vairaga, or monkey renunciation. Mm. So monkeys imitate, right? So don't be an imitator. And rather cultivate an internal spirit, cultivate your internal quality of heart and consciousness. But externally, in Raghunath's case, he said, go about your normal activities as if nothing's changed, as if you are actually quite interested. And some of it is particularly applicable to Raghunath's case, and some of it is more broadly applicable. So in terms of Raghunath's case specifically, he says, go about your family activities and responsibilities as if this is giving you satisfaction and inspiration, and thus you won't arouse any suspicion in the minds of your parents. But internally you can worship Radha Govinda. And so your internal world may not, or your external activities may not superficially resemble your internal world. But that doesn't matter, they don't have to. Don't be a markata vairagi where it's the opposite. The monkey's external, I've read one interpretation where the monkey is living in the trees, living in the forest, no fixed home, not wearing any clothes, just eating the fruits in the tree. Very renounced externally. But internally, they're not renounced from eating, sleeping, mating, etc. They're completely bondaged by those things instinctually. So Mahaprabhu is making the point that it is the internal quality that counts. Don't be so obsessed with external circumstance too much. But that will change. Mahaprabhu makes the point at the appropriate time that will change. So definitely some of that is applicable specifically, and you could say almost exclusively, to Raghunath Das Goswami, because that circumstance is quite unique, where someone is being held in a situation where they can't express their devotional sentiment. But another part of it is broadly applicable, where he's saying don't focus too much on the exterior. Don't be too eager to make a show of what's going on inside. Rather, the external circumstance will automatically transform to match your inner quality at the appropriate time. It will happen naturally. And if you want to extrapolate on that, there's a sector of devotees who are very keen on trying to know what their spiritual identity is. What is my, it's known as Siddha Deha, what is my perfected body or my spiritual body? Tell me this. And, for anyone that is conversant with the teachings, the mood of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Saraswati Thakur, et al., then they'll see that this is anathema to their teachings. And also from a common sense perspective, you go like, for time immemorial, you've identified with a mind and various physical bodies. What makes you think that you can suddenly like flip a switch and identify with something completely anti-material? It doesn't make sense that it can happen like that. Yet some people like to try and fantasize about that, and really it is fantasy, but they like to believe that that fantasy is in some way bhakti or some kind of raga sadhana. And so it can also be interpreted that way, that Mahaprabhu is saying, don't try and be a monkey in terms of imitate what is going to happen at a later date spiritually, of its own accord, at the right time. But imitating that is like a kind of like a monkey behavior. Rather, whatever is to happen at a later date, as a result of natural, gradual spiritual advancement, over the course of who knows how long, advancement that comes via the mercy from Guru Gauranga, then let that be. But fantasizing and trying to force that to happen, as some people do, and did back in the day of Saraswati Thakur. That's why he prohibited such practice. And still do today. That, Mahaprabhu is cautioning against that. It's kind of like monkey behavior.
But Raghunatha still didn't give up his hankering, his really huge hankering.
Well, Mahaprabhu advised him not to. He advised him to culture his internal service mood. So his heart, his consciousness was sold to Mahaprabhu. He said, advised him just externally, just to keep the peace, to pretend that pretend he was interested in family life, business, family, etc. But to internally culture a different spirit.
So, I don't know if it... With the question, with the thing about Gunjamala, I don't know if it's something we can really discuss, but is there a difference between, because that Gunjamala, there are Giriraj, isn't it's not conchal, it's Giriraj.
It's berries, yeah.
Is there a difference between them?
Not in terms of form, yeah, but not in terms of spirit, so to speak, not in terms of the actual identity. So the Gunjamala is considered to be Radharani, and the Shalagram Shila, the Govardhan Shila to be Krishna.
Why Gunjamala? Why does that represent? Who is there?
Those berries are from trees that grow on Govardhan.
Oh, okay.
Now I do remember reading why Gunjamala is considered to be Srimati Radharani, but I forget exactly the reason now. Yeah, I forget exactly right now. Yeah, the berries, in this case it's small conch shells, small cowrie, kauri shells. Not the New Zealand kauri. It sounds the same. Kauri. Little mini conch shells. You've seen, have you been to Jagannath Puri? You can see them there. They used to have a lot of them there. I'm not sure if they still... I remember on my last visit I didn't see too many. But I remember as a child going there and seeing so many different types of conch shells in Jagannath Puri. Maybe there's less of them now. But we were told that they were coming out of the sea, of the Bay of Bengal there, which is likely, I guess. They were harvesting them, bringing them in. But all sorts of different conches, like these normal conch shells that we have here, and then more exotic-looking conch shells, and all different sizes, including these tiny little ones. And they were used as currency during this time. They were one form of currency. But these particular ones were seen as Gunjamala. Well, it's some homework. We can look it up. But maybe I thought it was Saraswati. Dandavat. Okay, we'll finish that and do some reading from Revealed Truth. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Dvaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Today's the appearance of Tulsidas Adhikar. Disappearance of Tulsidas Adhikar. Is that a significant?
It's not a major date on the calendar.
Not sure.
I wouldn't be able to say anything ad lib about those two personalities. So, where did we finish? Do we read the one with Ishvara Parama Krishna? We read that one. We're the Queen of Krishna's homeland. We can also understand how high and exalted the position and name of Radharani are through Srimad Bhagavatam. Sukadev Goswami did not want to take the name of Radharani in the public meeting described in Srimad Bhagavatam because he understood that the rishis were not qualified to hear her name. Sukadev Goswami heard Radharani's glories from his Gurudev, Vedavyas, and through that he understood everything. But he did not want to give that knowledge to the rishis in the public meeting. Atreya Rishi and many great stalwart rishis were there. Atriyar Vashishtas Chavanaha Sharadvan Arishtaneyamir Prigur Angarascha Parasharo Gadhi Suto Tarama Dvaipayano Bhagavan Naradascha. All the dignitaries of the spiritual world were seated there. Sukadev Goswami's grandfather, Parashara, Sukadev's father, Vedavyas, Narad Rishi, and so many others. Everyone was present for the meeting during Parikshit Maharaj's final 7 days. Then Sukadev Goswami expressed everything, but he did not take the name of Radharani because he did not want to expose the harem of Krishna in the middle of that meeting. Not everyone there could properly understand Krishna's private life. To protect them from making any offenses, he did not take the name of Radharani. Radharani's position is supreme, but she is only known to those who have consciousness about Krishna's private life. Krishna is famous everywhere. Everyone in the world has heard the name of Krishna. But only in Vrindavan will you hear the name of Radharani everywhere. If you go to Vrindavan even today, you will find that you will not hear the name of Krishna so much. There, everyone only calls Radhe, 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 Radhe. Everywhere you go in Vrindavan, you will hear Radhe, Radhe. Vrindavan is Radharani's zone, and there everyone always sings her glories. Krishna's position is secondary there. Krishna is like a big administrator. He is known far and wide, but Radharani is the mistress of his exclusive private life. And she is supreme within Krishna's homeland of Vrindavan. Jai Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev-Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Hari Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Gopala Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan. Hari Hari Gopinath Madana Mohan. Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra. Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath. Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath. Echai Goshai Jabe Praje Koilop. Echai Goshai Gobas Bhatta Krishna. Echai Goshai Kore Charana Bandhan. Jaha hoite Vignana Sabista Puran. Echai Goshai Anmuni Tanradas. Ansabada Pada Renu Mora Panchagas. Andara Charana Sevi Bhakta Saneva. Jana me mora eya bilas. Echai Goshai Jabe Praje Koilobas. Radha Krishna Antya-lila Kodila Prakash. Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan. Shri Guru Vaishnava Hare Majai Aman. Shri Guru Vaishnava Hare Padma Koreas. Harinam Sankirtan Kohe Narottamadas. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Ramo Rama Ramo Hare Hare. Jai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Jai Gaura Hari Bol. Jai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Jai Gaura Hari Bol. Jai Sapadikara Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Sundar Radha Giridhari Ju ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev-Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakha Sridhar Dev-Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki Jai. Shri Rupanu Guru Varg ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Shri Lasi Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Jai. Samaveda Vaishnav Mandala ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat West London ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai. Nitai Go Premanandi Hari Hari Go.